Ciao, buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti a Firenze. This is the Florence Study Center, Accent Florence Study Center, so welcome to Florence. What makes the accent program unique is that students are able to experience living in Florence as a local. So they arrive, they have apartments, we give them all the tools, all the elements that they would need to navigate the city.
The kind of courses that are organized and offered here in Florence are a mix of theory and practice. Using Florence, I would say, as a textbook, and accent, global learning, Florence Center push us professors to work on this aspect.
I really like that the professors are teaching us from the Italian perspective.
I also help with placements for the internships, where they can really get to know the community, be part of the community, and be able to work in the community where they live and see that part, explore the culture very much in depth by working in the community of Florence.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments is here. I walked in on my third day of the internship or something, and everyone just was like, Ava, and was so excited to see me, and I was ciao, ciao, and I just got really excited and I felt very welcomed.
I like a sharing experience, first of all, and also to give American students some advice to how to live in Italy, how to study in Florence, to create for them the perfect experience.
What you learn in class is really helpful because you leave the classroom and you are in Italy where Italian is spoken, and you get to immediately apply what you've learned to your daily life in a new way.
At home, on campus, at the university, they can study all of these things. They can study the artwork, they can study, the history of Florence, but to be able to go out into the museums and see and experience these works of art or this culture as an immersive experience is much more of an impactful way of learning and understanding what they're studying.
My favorite course is probably Italian. It's very in person, in contact. We are always communicating in Italian, and it's really helping me communicate to other Italians in Florence, and I really enjoy the class.
I actually really enjoy how small my classes are. Usually when I'm at school, my class size is pretty big. So being able to actually communicate with the professor whenever I have a question right away, it helps me learn more. And also being able to be close with the other students in my classes helps a lot with learning. Coming to Italy, I've learned a lot about clothing and fashion designers and things like that, and I think it kind of gave me a more holistic view of what I'm studying.
Learning in reality, visiting Gucci, it's not that common. Visiting Ferragamo, visiting the little firms growing in Italy, and visiting and sometimes able to visit big Italian holdings.
I think the challenges that students sometimes face is culture shock. So they arrive and everything's very different to what they're used to. Many students, maybe it's the first time they've left home, they've left the US, so everything is new. Also the language, I hear a lot of students are very afraid of the language barrier. So I think that is a fear. They arrive with this fear, I'm not going to understand, this is going to be hard. And that happens maybe the first weeks, and then they start getting to know. We always suggest to, go to the local cafe every day and make friends with the the barista. Talk to them, say hello, just become a local Florentine and just make your routine that.
There's this restaurant that I've been to a few times, and they gave me a permanent 10% off because I just kept bringing new people in. So it was really cool to know that my presence and my business was appreciated, and that I was recognized. It feels really cool to know that the people at that restaurant know who I am, and they're interested in my life. Every time I go in there, they're asking me questions about how's school going and everything. So I think that's just a really fun, meaningful interaction that really makes Florence start to feel a little bit like home.
One time I was speaking Italian at a market, and I was talking to this man and trying to shuffle my way around in the language. And I was like, I'm sorry for my Italian. And he said, no, perfetto. Like, he was like, beautiful. And so that was nice too.
Florence is just a beautiful place. It has a ton of art, ton of things to do. The nightlife's incredible. Never quiet hours. It can be almost midnight and you'll just hear musicians on the street and you're like, wow, this is beautiful.
I've really been able to just like go out into the city and do what I want to be doing, and I think that's the biggest thing is I've really been learning how much I like to be independent, how much I like to be able to explore on my own and meet so many like amazing people along the way too.
And walk around. It's always beautiful. I love taking walks at like at night with some friends. It's very relaxing. My favorite part about Florence, it's not a specific memory, but it's a place. It's Piazza Michelangelo. It's a view of all of Florence, and a few people go there and they sit on the steps and they just look out. It's very relaxing. I go out there with friends.
Students who would do well would be students who are curious, open-minded, flexible. These are things that they will also learn and develop once they're here. All these soft skills that are needed in life, they'll develop them, and that's the essence of studying abroad, is to develop these skills. But I think students just need to be open-minded and curious, not to have any expectations set in their head, but just come with a blank slate and just ready to experience whatever the country they choose has to offer.
Students that are curious, students which are interested in understanding the context in which they will live for 4 months, students that accept something that they know as part of their experience. I guess also students that initially are really shy and then they find their own way to express their perspective, their point of view, their stances.
Studying abroad is a great opportunity to know different cultures, perspectives, and also style of life, for instance. I think in the modern world this is very important, to be flexible, also with an open-minded. I think it's very important. I think that they can bring home if they do a study abroad experience without accent.
You will live in an amazing neighborhood. You will study here, not only in the center of Florence, but in Oltrarno, which means beyond Arno. Arno is the river in Florence. And so by studying here in accent, they will live between local and global. So they can breathe an international and global dimension, but at the same time, if they want, if they are able, or if they are available to catch all the details during their everyday life, they also can live as a local and in touch with a local dimension, which is really rare, not only in general, but especially in a city like Florence, because it's really touristic. But this part of the center of Florence, where the accent center is located, give them this opportunity.
You see them throughout the semester, and then you see them at the end where they're just so happy, they've made friends, they're speaking a new language. So they've created a whole world and developed all these network, friends, an experience that they can now take back home, or students who've decided that now they're going to try and see to work in another country. Maybe I want to come back, maybe I want to do this. So to see that change in their eyes of possibilities of growth. So I really enjoy that, and having a little bit to do with it, it's fun.